Can I have a glass of wine then? Do I get a glass of wine?
You can have whatever you like on the table. You are a invited guest.
And this is part of the exhibition?
Yeah, these baby elephants, their legs were chained so tightly together that they just kept headbutting the ground, and the noises that they were making in distress were just, it was so awful.
This is the sound, or lack of sound, at Centre Space in Bristol, and later on this evening will be their private viewing, and then they'll be open for the rest of the week. Do you think the students have been drinking the refreshment before the guests have arrived?
Which is fine, I didn't calculate for that.
So if you start with your name.
Katie Harris.
Katie Harris, and you're a photographer?
Yeah, marine and natural history photography.
Brilliant. And this is part of the exhibition?
Yeah.
That some of the students have... But what made you go for doing this exhibition, being part of it? Because not all the students have done it, have they?
Yeah, but I thought it would be good to sort of have in the future to say that done this sort of an exhibition, and I know that Bristol's really good for sort of art scene, it's very creative. What I'm trying to do is explain to people and educate on the problem of elephant tourism, so it's kind of, the more people that know about it, the better. So.
And can you describe your beautiful photographs here, these nice big prints that you've got?
So they're from 5 different locations in Thailand, and some of the places that we went to were the places which aren't as ethical, and where the elephants are used for being ridden or as photo props.
Yes, there's one there by, is it like an inland sea or lake? You've got some elephants and lots of male tourists standing on rocks doing selfies with the elephants.
And kind of none of them are really looking at the elephant, they're kind of just looking at themselves or taking the photo. So yeah, that was a place called Phuket Elephant on the Beach, and they just use it as a place. They keep the elephants in a little bit of, chained up in a bit of wooded area, and then they walk them down to the sea to have photos with tourists. But obviously the beach is not a normal place where you'd have elephants, and you know, they're not in good condition, it's not good for them, and you can kind of see in their body language that they're cowering behind the tourists.
So it's something that tourists should be aware of, that yes, it's a money-making thing, but it's not actually benefiting necessarily the elephants.
Yeah, whenever you see a place where you can have your picture taken with an elephant or it's being ridden, they've been through a torture process called the Paijan, which they go through as babies, and it basically means that their spirit is broken. So the process takes about 7 to 14 days of them being starved, like clubbed, burnt, until they finally give up, and then they completely like subservient to the mahout, who's the elephant keeper.
So that's how they break them, to make them so docile.
Yeah, because otherwise they wouldn't, you wouldn't be able to get that close to an elephant otherwise. And as you can see in the photo at the bottom, the elephant is really malnourished.
Skin and bones, yeah.
And some of that is to do with, through COVID, because there were no tourists coming into the country, the elephant keepers couldn't make any money, so they couldn't feed the elephants. So that's kind of because quite a lot of the tourists have only just gone back, like say Chinese and Russia, like other countries around Asia, it's only started to get back to normal now, so there's still the impact from COVID on the elephants.
And there's a photo there of its elephant's 2 feet chained. You said there's a starving elephant there, and then above the tourists taking the selfies, and on the right there an elephant with how many people are on top of that elephant?
4, I think. Wow. On that one.
And then on the left hand side we've got pictures that seem to show a different story. Could you describe them?
Yeah, so I went to 2 rescue centres, Wildlife Friends Foundation and Elephant Nature Park, and I've been to Wildlife Friends Foundation before, sort of like 5 and 6 years ago to volunteer. So they just let the elephants live out the rest of their life in peace, and they get volunteers to come and help prepare food for the elephants. So you pay to go and, you know, help the elephants, and that goes towards their care and stuff, but you aren't allowed to touch them or, you know, anything like that.
You certainly don't get to ride them.
No, exactly. It's completely chain free and no ball hooks, which are the big sort of metal hooks that they use
Yes, I can see they've got a book there that got someone on top of an elephant with a vicious looking hook. Is that the bull
Yeah,
hook
that's
you're
the
talking about?
hook that they use to train them. So even when they've, you know, their spirit has been broken daily, if at the trekking camps and stuff, the mahouts still use the bull hooks to stab into the top of their heads and their ears, because the ears are the most sensitive point. So you can see with some elephants that they've got tears in their ears from the hook.
And how many people who are tourists have any idea that this is the reality?
I think probably not a huge amount. I think definitely in the Western world it is more, you know, there is more awareness around it, but
This certainly
even there-
is increasing that. If people read the words, they can get a sense of what's going on. Because I certainly hadn't heard that level of detail before. I had no idea how bad it was. So on here you've got them on the left-hand side, which is much more positive, where they're not going to ride them or stab them with hooks.
Yeah.
What's happening in that picture
So
there?
that's a place called Mahouts Elephant Foundation. So the elephants there are able to roam in 90,000 acres of forest. So they're basically nearly wild again, but they've the foundation has helped stop those elephants from being taken into the cities to put to work. So they work with the Karen people, the local people in the village, so that they can keep their elephants just able to roam free. So people can pay to have the experience of going and trekking through the forest to see the elephants and see them in, you know, almost natural habitat again.
But without interfering. And then in the middle you've got an elephant with this like massive reeds over the top, like a sun hat on the top of its head, and someone sitting quietly below, right by its feet, looking completely at ease.
Yeah.
What's happening in that picture?
Yeah, so that's that elephant's mahout. So even at the rescue centres, the elephants still have their individual mahout, because they are very knowledgeable about how the elephant reacts to different things. So
And the mahout is
the elephant keeper. So yeah, there's some places in Thailand where it's been generations of mahouts and elephant keeping.
So is that like protecting the elephant from the sun?
I think it was just
a bit
playing
fun.
around. Yeah, it's just hiding underneath the grass.
And so there can be a harmonious relationship between the mahout and the elephant in this sort of environment, as opposed to them just using the elephants to make money for.
Yeah, definitely, and it's not the
tourists.
mahout's fault, because that's just what they've done for years in the places where they are treating them badly. That's sort of all that they've known, and they don't know really what a happy elephant looks like. And also the main problem is to do with the government and the laws. There's no laws to protect captive elephants in Thailand. There are for wild elephants, but captive elephants are thought of as like draft animals, like a cow or a pig or whatever. They're sort of treated in the same way.
So it's not just about rescuing the captive elephants to give them a better life. You need to have their mahout with them and retrain them as well, presumably. But must be wonderful for them to be able to stay with their elephant and know that they're giving it a better life. And how are they sustained financially, though, by losing out on the tourist money?
So the rescue centre pays for their stay and gives them an income to help look after the elephants, and the tourists that, you know, stay at the rescue centres help pay for their salary and stuff. And Elephant Nature Park is the last one with the family of elephants. And at the park there, they've got 200 elephants that they've rescued from various different places, but mostly the trekking industry.
So So they look like happy elephants now.
Yes, I mean, it would be good to just be able to spread the word more, really. Because I think the more people are aware of the rescue centre, the more tourists will decide to, you know, go to the more ethical places, and then the other places will just have to follow suit because the demand will be more for the ethical model rather than the unethical.
Yeah, it's down to the tourists to start choosing with their feet where they go. So you've come all the way up from Falmouth University, haven't you, to help these students who finished their degree course?
Yes.
And tell us your name and what's your role.
Okay, my name's Mark Waterwork. I'm a technician at Falmouth University on the photography course. And general nuts and bolts around the place. So I do help with exhibitions, setting exhibitions up. We've set them up over the last few years.
But it's not just you're technical, but also creative as well. Which is really interesting combination.
Yeah. So basically, a technician's role is kind of everything. As you can imagine, as we're going round, a little bit of curating here and there, but usually for the curating and the context of the images, it's usually left to the lecturers.
But they're not here. Right? So I noticed earlier that you were helping one of the graduated students to choose where to put all her pictures. Just happened to be my daughter, Cydney, but so you gave a creative view, but you're also technically making sure they can actually get their pictures up, how to use that. What's it called, the machine with the laser beam?
Yes, it's a laser level.
Laser level,
yes.
So it all looks really professional, which is actually a really important skill set for them. There's no point taking pictures if we don't know how to set up in an exhibition. I'm just reading this is going to go out later in the street, Marine and Natural History Photography Centre Space Gallery, which we've got a couple of hours of peace before the storm when people come in.
And it's basically networking around Bristol, so that's where a lot of students do actually get the contacts.
Because Falmouth's a long way to go, isn't it, to see the one they did at the university. What's the benefit, do you see, of students? Obviously they learn so much from their course, they get all of that experience, but what makes it so important for them to then have an exhibition? You mentioned earlier the networking opportunities. I know hopefully some people from natural history, lot at the BBC, will be coming in later today. Are there other elements that you think are valuable for them?
Oh, absolutely. Coming down to basically the hub of the wildlife in Bristol, and like you were saying, we have got a couple of people from the BBC coming in, photographing and having a chat with the students here. I would actually add that the couple of people from the BBC, what will be coming, are ex-students from Falmouth University as well. It's kind of them stepping stones.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. I'll let you get back to work.
Okay, thank you very much.
A sunny early evening in Bristol, and outside a sign that says Centre Space. It takes me up a dark and quite smelly stairway into an alleyway full of colourful graffiti. And the private viewing's just begun. And I'm just coming in off the street. So The Waterfalls of Cornwall and Devon, Luk, Tuckley, Skelton. That's your book?
So it's a zine of darkroom prints that I did.
Are you going to open it up so people can see it, or just let them have a look through themselves?
So these are all contact prints of the film that I shot, which is all 8x10 large format.
You say you took the photos, very large format, high detail, and then what did you say when you say contact prints? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I take the film into the darkroom and then I layer it over a piece of the film paper and then I expose it, and it's just sort of a one-to-one image of what I took.
So what does it explain? If you show me the image, an example, what does it do that's different to just taking a black and white photo?
Yeah, there's a lot more detail. The film as well, when I scan it in digitally, there's a lot more detail in that if I wanted to ever print anything out.
There's something kind of quite mesmeric about them, really, isn't there? Because it's not just a snapshot. It's like time stood still almost, isn't it?
Like long exposure images, which means that instead of freezing the water where it is, it kind of, you get to see the flow of the water as well.
Yes, you get the sense of the water rushing towards you, not like it's just stopped still. It's actually still in movement. Yeah. So I'm looking at owls. In fact, it's a film. It's like a documentary film, and this is a film I saw at Falmouth University, and now you've got it here at this exhibition running, and people can put the headphones on and listen to it. So tell me your name.
Hi, I'm Ben Garrick.
Ben Garrick, and you're clearly a natural history...
Yeah, natural history filmmaker.
Yeah. And I watched the whole of this, because once you sit down to watch it, you just have to watch it all, whatever part you come in on, you have to watch all of it. And have you sold it to the BBC yet?
No, I have not. I don't think it's quite going to be at that level, but...
Why not? Because it was really, really good.
Well, I appreciate that. And yeah, it's been a bit of an interesting thing to do, because I wanted to create a natural history film that isn't quite a normal natural history film. So
it's got a proper, certainly your story. You are the
it's,
star.
It's a drama, natural history. It has more of the searching and more of the realistic side of trying to find them, as opposed to just nice, pretty owls.
You're on a quest, aren't you? What's the quest?
Yeah. So I'm trying to find all of the owls in Britain. So we've got 5 species in the UK. So I'm trying to find all 5 of them within a year. Is the aim of the film.
Which people might think, oh, that shouldn't be too hard. But what made that actually a very, very difficult thing to do?
Everything. So whether trying to find them, so some of them are protected, so people won't give you locations, which is very correct, and they shouldn't be. But you can't just ask somebody and kind of find out where they are. So it was a lot of looking. My car gave up halfway through, which was a bit of a pain. I moved 300 miles away from my house, which was a bit of a pain. It was a bit of everything. Oh, and it rained for like 3 months straight. So it was a...
Was COVID involved at any point, or did
you miss it?
This is just
after COVID.
Thank
so
goodness.
Yes, it was just escape that. I kind of came up with the idea in COVID, but it wasn't till after that I actually did it.
But it is like, as you said, almost like a drama crossed with natural history, because we're on this mission with you to try and achieve this. And it is quite exciting, because you begin to wonder towards the end if you're ever going to manage to succeed.
I thought I did.
And I don't want to give away the ending, but yes, you absolutely did succeed. So but this is beautifully filmed, beautifully made. So where did you develop those skills? Was that from whilst on your course? Was it something you've already been doing?
It was the first film I properly made. I've done some in my free time, kind of planning stuff, but it was the first proper film I've ever made. So it was just trial and error. It's a year's worth of footage, so stuff that I didn't like at the beginning, I could reshoot by the end, and there's clips in it that I don't...
This is a drone shot, isn't it?
Yes, so there's some drone stuff, there's some long lens stuff, there's some camera traps, there's a bit of everything.
So you're a natural director, and the hours and hours it must have taken to get these shots with the owls.
Yes, so it's most of it was planning, so many hours of planning, a lot of hours spent waiting, but once you've got the storyline, so I storyboarded it for months, and once you have that, actually you know what you're going to film, so it makes it a bit easier going out and getting the shots you want, but then a lot of it is you go out and you see what happens and you find an owl, or most of the time you don't.
And it's just the way it's edited and put together. It's really creative. So what was your the equipment? As you said, you've got drone shots. You've got clearly you're taking images from a very long away.
Yeah.
Where was all this equipment that you managed to get the use of from Falmouth?
Yeah. So the long lens stuff is all from uni, and drone's mine. I'm a drone operator, so I can kind of do all of that. But yeah, the long lens stuff, £12,000 for a lens, so I borrowed all of that. So I'm trying to make a sequel at the moment, and that's been proven quite difficult because I don't have £12,000 worth of lenses anymore.
So does that mean you need to go work for a natural history unit
that
somewhere and get them to commission you, get you doing a master's?
That would be very helpful. Yes, something like that would be very helpful.
So career-wise, where has this taken you?
It's been a bit mad. So it's on 12,000 views on YouTube, 70-odd thousand on Twitter. Chris Packham's seen it. One of the other presenters from Swing Watch has seen it. So it's been seen by a lot of people. It hasn't it hasn't directly led into anything. I have been contacted by some people that I can't speak about yet.
Yes.
To do some filming with them off the back of it. So it's got me something so far, whatever that turns into.
Maybe you could ask Chris Packham if he can get you some funding to do the sequel. Am I right in guessing that might be something to do with eagles?
Yes. So it's going to be a Scotland-based sequel of finding some Scottish animals, and that's as much as I've got in my planning so far.
And so how many hours of just owl footage, like these flying owls now?
More than I can count. There's probably 20 to 30. There's about 2.5 terabytes worth of footage for the whole film. So.
And then the finding them as well. And what do you want people to take away from this?
A lot of it's the risk posed. So the film dives into a lot of the issues that are facing them, which is something I didn't really know about until I started researching for the film. So I think the main takeaway would be all of those things that you don't really expect to be an issue to them. But also just that, yes, I had the university kit, but this is essentially in my back garden and beyond. It's not, anybody can kind of do it, you know.
Yeah.
I had the benefit of having a lot of kit, but anybody with a decent camera could go out and find a set of creatures, you know. It doesn't have to be owls.
I don't think anyone would spend as much time.
There's a possibility. I might be slightly mad, but
it's wonderful. So it is about helping people connect more and understand more about owls.
And like the kind of local garden, local environment, and getting out and filming stuff.
Yeah, that you haven't gone to a special reserve, that literally you've found
these are, some of them are in my garden, some of them are just down the road. Yeah, nearby.
Hi, so my name is Archie Roestrick, and my photographic portfolio is Beauty on the Street. And basically I went out on journey basically trying to explain the beauty of pigeons, which most people have obviously seen or heard. Everyone knows what a pigeon is, but trying to really show off their beauty, because they're quite unappreciated birds. Not everyone really enjoys being around them or seeing them.
Some people hate them, in fact, don't they? And what strikes us is the variety. So these are these different types of pigeon? Are they all pigeons you can see in England?
All feral pigeons, all on the street, no racing pigeons or anything like that.
These are details you probably don't notice that much. This one down here, it's beautiful.
The bottom one's my favourite, because that's the green, blue, all the way down to the pink and almost red rose at the bottom.
And what do you want people to take away from this once they've seen this part of the exhibition?
Just change people's perspectives, really. I mean, it's just another animal that's decided to live amongst us. I don't think people really even bother looking at them. You know what I mean? They don't deserve the hate that some of them do have.
I thought we finished our conversation, but you were saying how you went, when you were taking these photos, you had what you saw and yet you had to pretend that it was fine, because otherwise they would have not let you take the photos.
Yeah, nearly every elephant that we saw there was chained up, but these two elephants I'll never forget. When we first got there, these baby elephants, their legs were chained so tightly together that they just kept headbutting the ground and falling over, and the noises that they were making in distress were just, it was so awful and really horrible to see. But we had to put on a sort of front, because otherwise we could have got into trouble with the local people if they'd have known why we were doing the project.
What did they think you were doing? Just taking photos of elephants?
They just thought that we were tourists.
And who runs you were saying that this isn't just friendly villagers who are misguided, it's much darker than that.
Yeah, I think in some of the places there's definitely, there is involvement from the government on these places, because if you can show that your elephant knows how to do 3 different tricks and is performing in the live shows, then you get a salary every month.
Because they want the tourists to come to the country. This is Thailand, yeah?
It's all about making money. But yeah, also there is definitely involvement from the mafia and stuff as well in some of these places.
And were you in any danger potentially?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that bit, sorry.
Well, don't say anything that you can't say. But
No.
yes, it's not like you can just go in there and go stop.
No,
It's not as simple as that.
I mean, we were told by one person that we could have, if we'd have actually seen the training process happening, then we could have got shot. But yeah, it's just a very dangerous place to.
And the training processes, how young are they? Looking at two young baby elephants here on this photo.
So if they're taken from the wild, if they're captured, then the mum is always killed as well in front of the baby elephant, because otherwise the mum tries to protect it, and then the elephant is put into a tiny cage and beaten and clubbed and starved. But some of the elephants have so much distress and are in so much pain that they try and kill themselves by either standing on their own trunk or crushing their heads into the poles. So there'd be quite young elephants, maybe about 2 or 3 years old maybe, but I think up to about maybe 7 years old or something.
And this is the training process and this is typical for Thailand. What are there any other countries that
all of the countries in Asia, the training process, the Paijan it's all a similar principle. They might have slight variations, but it's what they need to do to actually be able to have full control over the elephant.
And what's your message to everyone listening to this right now who might think, I'm going to go on holiday and see the elephants?
Just stop and look at what is behind the thing that you're about to do, and just think, why is that elephant on the beach? Why does that elephant have scars on its head or on its... Why does it have tears in its ears? Why does the trainer have a big hook? Like, it's not just for show. Like, there is a lot that goes on behind it, and just think about making a better choice for the animal. If you want to be close to animals and experience them, do it in a way that is actually helping them and not completely,
Such as with a nature park?
Elephant Nature Park or Wildlife Friends Foundation, and the Hoots Elephant Foundation. There are a lot of
countries.
So this is all Thailand.
All Thailand.
But
wow.
all
So
in
you've
different
got the
parts.
choice within that country. Yeah.
And there's definitely an increasing amount of sanctuaries. The problem is now with some sanctuaries is that they've started to deceive tourists by saying that they're a sanctuary, but they're actually not.
So how do you know? How do you check to make sure you're not being ripped off and told a lie?
It's sort of by doing a lot of research and just making sure that the one that you're going to has, first of all, good reviews, but maybe is approved by different organisations. In the back of the book, I've got a list of different sanctuaries that are ethical and different ways which you could tell if they're ethical or not.
Your name is Abigail Williams.
Abigail Williams, and describe this lovely photos. If this is your grandma, is that right?
Yeah, so my grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's early this year, and I noticed that our connection for each other personally was really strong in like gardens and natural environments. So I looked into benefits of natural environments for people with Alzheimer's, and the aromas and the kind of calming sense is meant to bring on enhanced memories. So the idea is having our connection with the environment and how that also benefits for Alzheimer's.
She looks joyfully happy.
Yeah, so there's an image at the top which is of Boxbush Farm, which is the farm that she lived in when I was younger, so that's a lot of my childhood memories.
I'm wondering how many people you've got relatives who have either dementia or Alzheimer's who would never think to do gardening.
Yeah, it's really, I used to work in this place where they have a dementia group where every month they meet and they do like a big garden session. So that was kind of a bit of a help in terms of like knowing about how gardens help with dementia and Alzheimer's. Also, a lot of people, it's been really nice when they've viewed it, they've said, like, oh, you've made me think of my nan or my mum who has it, or, and it's been a really nice note towards. So, yeah, hopefully it's to spark conversation about Alzheimer's without it being a depressing kind of taboo subject. So.
You've got right in the centre, you've got a letter, Dear Nanny Pat, handwritten letter. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so the idea of a letter is to add like an extra personal element towards the portfolio, and it's just because I've been in Cornwall and distant to her, she lives in South Wales, it's the idea of like writing this, so this is like a love letter, the portfolio is like a love letter to my nan, and it just goes through and talks about old memories and new memories and how she's done a lot for me and how I don't want to forget those memories. And then next to it is an image of me and my nan stood in the doorway of Boxbush Farm when I was a child, and there's an overlay of Forget-Me-Nots, which is a note towards the Alzheimer's charity, and also Forget-Me-Not being Don't Forget Me.
Yeah.
And yeah, then the other images of...
And she's holding you as a baby. How old are you there?
No idea.
You look quite young.
Yeah, very young.
You've obviously, she's just so joyful holding you.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really beautiful memory, and the rest of the images are just times we've shared now in the garden, and then I have bluebells which I scanned in on a scanner, which is like the one thing that's present and dominant that we both like won't forget, like because it's a very strong memory with bluebells, because they used to be in the garden of Boxbush Farm.
So even with her Alzheimer's, do you find, how does she, has that affected her relationship or her memory of flowers, or is it just about the names?
She's quite in early stages, but she's in quick development, so the garden definitely helps her, and the smells definitely help her bring on memories. And then when we see a bluebell, she'll be like, "Oh, do you remember the Bluebell Woods or the Bluebell Boxbush Farm?" So she's still got a relationship to the flowers.
Your name is Fergus Beresford, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, Fergus. So you've got some very stunning images framed here. And where are they taken?
They're all taken from a 3.5-week trip in the Philippines that I took a couple of months before the end of my course. Yeah, it was a very good trip. I learned a lot, and yeah, I managed to come away with some nice photos.
They're very interesting. So start here with these weird
So yeah,
fish.
this is a pair of mandarin fish, and they have a mating ritual at sunset. And they're usually based in hard corals, and they just swim around to find their food. And in the evenings, they come up as a pair to mate. You can see on the tail of the female there are some eggs. And I managed to snap a shot just above the coral to give a background.
So you were diving?
Yes, diving.
You
That
just
was,
happened to catch a mating
Yeah.
of two
yeah, so we went to this
small fish with the
mandarin
eggs.
spot, which the diver called it.
Yeah.
Went there a few days in a row and got used to how they rose up and their behavioural patterns. And I was lucky enough to get the shot.
Literally, and they own the eggs. That's incredible. And so, what's this sort of pinky, knobbly thing?
Yeah, so the next image is a pygmy seahorse. Its habitat is a fan coral, which is made up of these yellow knobbly bits and then pink main coral, and they just sit upon the coral and just nibble on anything that's floating by them. They're very tiny, about 1.5 centimetres tall, so they're very difficult to spot, but I was lucky enough to get one.
Because its tail
Yeah, the tail's
curled
coming
around.
here,
So it
and
looks
you've got the
exactly like the coral.
Yeah, so they're very well camouflaged, and the diver has to fan away these because usually the coral's a expunge, they're a bit wider like this one here. So you fan them away to close them up, and then you get to see the seahorse. Very difficult spot, and I was very lucky to get a photo. But I was lucky enough in the last minute of my air to get this shot.
And
yeah.
is that an actual eye?
Yeah, that's its eye up there, and then the mouth is here, and the whole body comes down.
It's incredible. And are they very rare to get photos?
Yeah, they're, especially in this colour.
Is it like a shrimp?
This is a shrimp. It's an unidentified shrimp because I spent hours trying to identify them, and I never found the shrimp. The yellow shrimp with the yellow eye. They always have black eyes or white eyes. But this is probably the smallest species on the gallery here. It's probably about 1 centimetre long, if that. So this is super macro, 105mm lens. So it's like a magnifying glass that you stick on the end of the lens,
Yeah.
and to get that extra bit closer. And yeah, I was very lucky to get the detail all throughout the body.
And this is on top of...
Yeah, it's a bit of soft coral, so they camouflage very well. Everything here is very camouflaged to its environment.
I just
So
don't know
they
how
just-
you even managed to find them in the first
Yes,
place.
so that was the dive guide spotted that one again for me. I paid for a few dives, like 3 or 4 dives, in which I had a guide who was looking for macro subjects, and that was one of them.
Why did you pick these particular images? Because you must have lots of images
Yeah,
that
I
you
had
could have
about
chosen.
3,500 to pick from, so it was a lot of narrowing down. I think I picked these, the shrimp and the pygmy, because of the rarity and the difficulty of taking the photograph. This was a hit and miss photo. I could have missed it and it would never have come again. So, and the other three, the mandarin fish is also quite a rare thing to see them floating up together. And I really like the fan worm for the texture and the detail. And the reef squid has just got beautiful colours, and it's just a classic in that part of the world to get a photo of them.
And why do you think apart from them being visually stunning, is there another reason that it's good for people to see these images?
I just feel like it's necessary to expose people to this, because you would never usually see these kind of macro subjects. Even if you went scuba diving, you'd maybe see a bobtail reef squid, but the rest of them you'd never see. I think it's important to expose people to the tiny things in life that make the marine scape so run so well. You know, it's an important thing. They're the unseen wonders that make up this biodiverse area and make it run. You know.
And so, what are you working on now?
Now I'm just working my usual job, trying to make a bit of money to buy myself a camera, and then hopefully I can do some more underwater stuff in the future.
Because that's the thing, is that everyone hears they these beautiful videos and still images, but in many cases can't afford an actual camera.
Yeah, it's very expensive, and expensive degree to do. But hopefully I can work for a good few months and then get the money together. But yeah, we'll see how it pans out. I'm keeping an open mind. But I'd love to do more underwater stuff if I can.
So these cameras that you did this with, they came from?
Yeah, this is the university cameras.
Yeah.
I wish I had one of these to myself, but I don't have that.
So Harry, these great big prints we're looking on the wall here, created with drones, drone photography. Can you describe the landscapes on it?
Yep, so what you're seeing here is actually the entirety of the Hale estuary in Cornwall. And it was captured by using some cutting-edge drone technology. So essentially, the drone flies in grid patterns, and it captures a very, very large area, larger than what you can normally capture with a drone. So you capture all the details, you capture the colours and the textures and the intricate details of all the estuary.
Isn't it? It's so beautiful. It's almost like it's a live thing.
Yeah, you see kind of life passing by while you're looking at it, don't you?
It's quite big. So, to describe it, it's like the you can see the water coming out of the estuary, but it's got this. It's not just this amazing sort of turquoise colour. It almost looks like it's moving in a sense. It has this sort of. It doesn't just look like a piece of water. How does it have all this effect? Is it simply because you've got so much detail?
I mean, yeah, it's partly to do with the fact that, I mean, this one image is a combination of around 500-600 individual photos all combined together to make this incredibly large view. I mean, you can see there's a tiny, tiny boat. In reality, that's pretty huge. But in comparison to the whole scale of the photo and how much scale and detail is captured, it looks very insignificant. It kind of makes it feel insignificant, doesn't it? Like the scale of it. And I mean, it's also like a conflict as well between like industrialisation and still nature trying to fight back, like grasping its nature back.
So technically, you've got it's not like just a photo; it is a layer after layer.
It's pretty much a drone flying on a grid pattern. So that's one photo. That's one photo. So
it does each grid pattern, and then you put them together to create the whole. And how long does that take?
I mean, the capture itself probably took about an hour of the drone just flying in grid patterns, and then obviously you get those photos back and you combine them in software. So you use all different things. You use software to stitch them all together and make it one big seamless photo. And yeah, it's quite amazing because you don't actually know what the photo's going to look like until you get it into the computer. So I'll get to the location, I'll photograph it. I'll do all the photos. I'll have 500 individual photos, and at that point, I have no clue what it's going to look until I get this computer, combine all of them, and then that's when I'll see the true scale of what I've actually captured. And I actually captured a sewage dump. And you can see it's by the bottom right.
That's the Hale one, yeah.
Yeah, there's like a sewage dump there, and it's about, what's curious about this is it's an RSPB site, but you can see the sewage being dumped there. And you can see how much it's discoloured the water from, that direction, the tide's flowing that way, so obviously it's worked its way down there.
So this is very interesting. So this has kind of got them back to rights on. And so if it's not going to get you sued, who is sending it out there?
That's actually, I'm not quite sure. I tried to contact South West Water, and they said they looked on their pipelines, pipe maps, and they said it wasn't one of theirs.
It's got poo in it now.
It has, yeah, unfortunately.
What kind of things do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about who you are, why you're exhibiting. I know you've just finished the degree course at Falmouth, and just describe this amazing setup. So you've got static photos, you've got...
So it's mixed media installation with the photos, physical prints on the wall, and then film projected over the top.
And it's all around surfing. Is that you surfing?
No, none of it's me surfing because I filmed and took all the photos.
That would have been tricky.
Yeah. And then I had to give up many good surfing days to do the videos instead, unfortunately. But there's so that's my close friend Katie. That's actually my brother down there. So there's a few people, but then also these people, I have no idea who they are. They were just out in the water when I was shooting.
And where was this done?
So all in Cornwall, mostly in Godrevy. It's my favourite surf place. That's where I go normally. But a couple of other beaches occasionally.
So it's interspersed with live action, if you like, filming. You've got animate like graphics, drawing, writing on it.
On the film there, I've sketched into the actual frames.
And then you've got around them the static images as well, projected onto the wall rather. And there's something about these sort of capturing all that motion in a static moment, and then having the live action around it.
That's the whole point of the project. It's about looking at different ways to capture motion. So I don't know if you can tell, I love surfing.
Clearly.
I think that so much of it that people often overlook is the movement of to be honest, in any sport. So I climb as well, and climbing is a lot about movement. So I was looking into finding more ways to show movement through photography, because a lot of surfing photos are just very static.
Yes.
They're just still. They're just the person kind of just still running away, which can be beautiful, and I've done many of those for my photography. But I just wanted to show a lot more of the fluid motion that these surfers have to have, where they have to just go with those waves and go with the flow.
It's all about flow, isn't it, really?
Yeah. So I was looking at different ways. So originally I just had the photos, but I wanted to add another kind of dimension on top of that, which led to the film.
You feel like you're on the beach. You just need the sound effects, don't you?
Yeah. Well, have you actually listened to it with the music?
Oh, so you've got music as well.
So you listen to it with the headphones.
Tell me about it's almost like animated graphics, writing on the images.
So that's again that whole aspect of movement is I wanted to bring attention to the surfers and where they were moving and how they were moving. So it's just kind of another way to draw your attention in. I was just sketching on. Pretty all random. It was very kind of just whatever was on the screen I felt like doing. There is a storyline to it. It's a 4-minute installation, and there is a storyline. But it does loop background, so no one really notices when it starts or finishes.
And what is the story? Is that why you wanted to do this?
Yeah, so it's the start of it is the paddling out. So we're in the middle right now, but at the start it's just all the paddling out, and at that point the photos aren't lit because that's not relevant to it. And then in time with the music, which is when you do really need to listen to the music because it just works so well, if I do say so myself. And there's a bit where one of the riders pops up, and then it's all the surfing. So the idea I was thinking about is, surfing isn't just about these photos, it isn't just about this fluid movement, there's so much more to it, and the majority of it is falling off or paddling out. And so I was that's what the film is trying to represent, of what people have to go through to be able to get these fluid motion photographs.
Is there, and not that there has to be, is there an element of this about connection with the sea, with nature, because you've just finished your there's a science basis to the degree as well, isn't it? It wasn't just photography.
Yeah, no, there was obviously the kind of the whole science communication, and I think the mental health aspect is what I focus on a lot. That's why I do a lot of sports. So that's where it moves. So this is the start of the footage again.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I really like doing sport photography is looking at the whole mental health aspect of it, and the link it has with just people like having to live through life. But they have these kind of crutches to help them through.
So during COVID, were you able to go surfing?
Yes, I live by the beach, so I was, and without that, I think even if I live slightly further from the surfing beach, but I live really close to a swimming beach, and I was just there all the time. It was like my daily walk was to the beach, and yeah, without that, I don't think I could have. That would have been impossible to live through COVID.
And what do you want people to take away from this installation? Which hopefully they listen to the music as well. Though I have to say it's really effective even without it.
Yeah, mostly to just go out and have a surf, in a way, or just to bring a new appreciation for how much effort people put into surfing and how many hours on end they will spend in the water to pop up for 2 seconds. I mean, it's kind of a bit of a cliche thing sometimes where people say have a surfer mentality, but I think it's 100% true. And this kind of thing of like, there's always another wave coming, there's always going to be something else coming. It's like you've fallen off, that's fine, just get back up, get back on the board kind of thing. And even now saying it just sounds so cliche, but it's just there's something.
No, it doesn't. It sounds like it's a really
apply to life.
It's a really powerful way to look at it. Actually,
yeah,
I like that. I hadn't thought of it like that before.
Jake Roberts.
Sorry,
Jake Roberts.
Jake Roberts. And Jake, you are you photographed here. How can we describe them? Is that a shark?
Yeah, that one's a shark. We've got a shark, a little pufferfish, an eagle ray, anemone fish, and some crabs.
So I'm guessing you're a diver.
Yes. Yeah. So these were taken in the Red Sea.
So was that part of the course, or was that you just had to sort that out yourself?
So that was part of the second year course. We were lucky enough to get to go on.
Before COVID.
Before COVID, yeah. So pre-COVID. So I graduated a few years before these guys.
Oh, so you were able to get the trips they weren't able to.
Yeah, I think we did last year to get them.
Yeah, very, very powerful images, and the shark. How close were you to that when you photographed the shark? What kind of shark is it?
So it's a white tip reef shark.
And then over here you've got some books you've created of.
So I created both of these in my third year. So this was Like the Seas We Rise was one that I did about Extinction Rebellion for the first half of third year.
Yeah.
So I went to London for a week, and that's just kind of the journey of what happened over the week through my eyes of getting involved and trying to also slightly shoot a project.
And with the Reclaim, what's that one?
So Reclaim was my actual final portfolio that I did. Initially I was meant to do the whole final book about Chernobyl, but then obviously coronavirus kicked in, so I had to sort of change plans. So it's a mix of photos from a day trip to Chernobyl and then ones that I just shot around Cornwall. So Kennel Vale, and that was in my mate's back garden.
And this is a tree sprouting out of a drain.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the sort of looking at how like nature can basically reclaim places when humans sort of leave them alone, and sort of shows even though they're like shot in like completely different locations, sort of the similarities of what happens and how nature can sort of come back.
So is it deliberate or accidental that the Reclaim images of nature taking back control in a way is over Extinction Rebellion rebels asking to claim back the world for nature?
Unintentional.
And humanity.
Unintentional. Because I just did.
You could almost swap the titles and it would still work.
I'd never thought of that, but
presumably you feel that through images, whether it's still images or videos. That's a powerful way to do it.
Definitely. Yeah, a really good way to convey meaning and show, and because everyone captures stuff differently as well.
Was it Nicole?
Nicole, yes, I'm Nicole Forrester. I've just finished studying at Falmouth, graduated, did very well, so very pleased.
And is it the first degree you've ever done?
It is actually. I'm doing financial services. I'm also a scuba instructor, so I had dive centres, and photography and underwater photography especially is my passion.
So we're looking here, we've got a live action here with some amazing surfing happening.
I met Melissa Reed at a friend's barbecue, at her birthday barbecue, and Melissa happened to be there, and she's an amazing, amazing lady. She's blind, totally blind in one eye, only 10-degree vision in the other eye, and you know, when she was younger, there was nothing in there for girls, and definitely nothing in there for disabled people.
Yeah.
And she then went and did triathlon, and in the para triathlon,
Yeah.
and she went to Rio and she got a bronze medal at Rio. Wow. And then she had a back injury during the time of Tokyo, just before, and then she got better, and then it happened again at Tokyo, at the Olympics, the Paralympics. So she had to stop running and cycling. But she found she could swim, and she found that she could surf as long as it wasn't big waves.
Yeah.
And she decided that she wouldn't ever be able to be at the top of the game in triathlon anymore, but she could be at the top of her game in adaptive surfing, which is parasurfing.
Oh, wow.
And she has won the English championships 6 times now, and she's world champion 3 times.
So Melissa Reed, so I can see there's a great...
In the white.
Yeah. So brilliant, so you've created a documentary about her.
It's a documentary about her life.
And what, for you, for anyone who watches the film, what do you want them to take away from that?
I would like them to take away the beauty of Cornwall, because it's set in Cornwall. Melissa grew up and still lives in Cornwall at Porth Town. And then the incredible life that she's managed to have through pure determination, and to show people who have got disabilities that the adaptive surfing is definitely there. It's relatively new, so not everybody knows that it's there.
I've not heard of it, so
but they've got so many categories. So they're amputees, arm amputees, and leg amputees, and total wheelchair people, and cerebral palsy, and the blind. Some people are totally blind, and then there's the partial vision as well.
It must be incredible if you, to have that movement on the board and being part of and normally, as you say, most people would just think, would dismiss that as a possibility.
Yeah.
So you're hoping that more people seeing this film will realise that actually that is something they can do. Yeah.
And the well-being. I also would like this film to show the well-being of water and the ocean and surfing, adaptive surfing, but just even getting in the water, and sort of really good for the well-being. It washes away any problems. It does for me, which is my happy place as well.
So it's good for your mental as well as your physical.
Yes, absolutely. And as Melissa said, it's good for your social well-being as well.
Yes,
because you get to meet people.
Yeah.
So instead of being a recluse, it's your mental well-being, your physical well-being, but also your social well-being.
So for people who haven't, especially if they've never done a degree, would you encourage them at any age? People often have a cut-off point. I mean, I'm a very mature student, so I know you can do it at any age, but a lot of people just discount it, don't they?
I think it depends on what's happening in your life. So 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do it because the children were all doing major exams and we were in Mozambique, and it just wasn't an option. And so the timing was right. When having moved here to finish their education, once they'd done their schooling and they were set on their university careers or paths for whatever career they were doing, it was the right timing for me to do something if I wanted to. And
something for you. Finally, if you had a message for anyone who's we've already talked about your amazing documentary, but with regard to the fish that are off our own shores, what would you say?
Oh, I think everybody who enjoys the water should get in, even if it's on snorkel. You don't have to go scuba diving, because a lot of these photographs have been taken just from shore dives, and it's in shallow water. The colour is much better in shallow water anyway. And just go down, take a torch, and then have a look along the rock walls and look carefully, and you'll be amazed at how many things they are. Absolutely incredible. It's a beautiful, really beautiful coastline and beautiful creatures inside it. You just got to look carefully.
So, Vicky or Victoria van der Pol.
Yeah.
Is it Vicky for short? Is that okay?
Yeah.
You've got some very striking images here. This is a cuttlefish, but really close up. Is it asleep? Was that just? Is it asleep, or is it just that's how the eyes?
That's how they are. The
So-
eyes like that, yeah.
And how did you get so close to it? Because it seems very docile.
It's quite a funny story. I was coming back to the shore from a dive, and this cuttlefish just came out of nowhere, and they go very, very fast. They wouldn't stop. And it was coming right at me, so I kind of laid on the floor and just try to capture as many images as I can. So I've got like 100 pictures of him. But yeah, he was coming very, very, very fast. They can really camouflage themselves, change colours. So obviously you see the blue, that's not edited, that's actually him. And you've got a bit of sand and pebbles on him, that's all him.
My God, that's created by him. 'Cause it literally looks like someone sprinkled sand.
They can camouflage their own body very, very easily for prey and for hunting. Me and Harry are thinking of travelling to Australia, so hopefully I can take some underwater pictures in Australia. And there'll be sharks and rays, so it'll be a bigger fish. So yeah.
We'll be using a macro on those.
I'll be like right there.
I saw my nan yesterday, and there was new things that she brought on, which were very, things that you kind of go, okay, I can tell you're now drifting a little bit further. But then you put her in the garden, and she's like, she knows every flower, she's really excited, and she's super calm, so it's really lovely. It's kind of more for me than her, for me kind of telling my nan that I'm always going to remember these moments, and I hope to carry them on, and
Can you read the last sentence and the last few lines to me of your letter?
So, I will see snippets of boxfish in your garden forever, from the flowers to the water trough. I know that those memories won't. Read it. I know that those memories aren't too far away. Here's to you, Nanny Pat. With all the love, your granddaughter.